and welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Ozzie, how are you today?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
I am fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Prashant, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
No place I'd rather be.
Me too. I feel the same, and I love saying your name. Let me say it again. Prashant Sabapathi.
You say it the best.
It rolls right off my tongue. So, gentlemen, how have you been? Let me ask you, Prashant. Have life been busy in the office for you?
I'll tell you what, it's been busier than ever, especially this year with just so much going on, right? I mean, I think people naturally are concerned about what's going on in the economy, what's going on with their paycheck, feeling like it's not keeping up with the price of what seems like everything these days, right?
Sure.
Ozzie was sharing a story with me before we went on that he went to go fill up his truck and he had to put his credit card into the pump like 3 times because it caps off at like, what, 80 or 100 bucks, right?
Oh
so
my gosh,
the price of gas being so high, it's real life concerns. And so the good thing is our viewers, they call in, they come in to visit with us, and we're able to really address those concerns with them in a concrete and constructive way.
And thank you both for always making time to come in and do the shows, because I know how busy you are. So thank you all, both, for just coming in all the time. So today's topic specifically deals with something called the tax avalanche, because, wow, people are very concerned about that. So, Prashant, this is a great question. It seems like we focus on earnings when we're working in taxes as we get to retirement. Why am I hearing so much about taxes right now?
So I think there's a couple things to consider. One is that the current tax code is set to expire in 2025, okay? And that's at the end of the year in 2025, but that's not that far away when you think about it. I mean, time flies. And so if you look at what's happened in our country the last couple of years here with the amount of money that's been unlocked by our federal government, this has to come around at some point in time. So whenever I do workshops, and you know, I do workshops at the BWI Marriott and the Expectation in Ellicott City all the time. And one question I always ask the crowd is, do you think taxes in the future are going to be higher or lower than they are today? And it always gets a little bit of a laugh, but nobody ever says, I think taxes are going to be lower, right? And so why do we care? Of course, is when you're retired and your income is more fixed, higher taxes just means less income in your pocket. Well, if you have less income in your pocket in retirement, are you going to be comfortable with your lifestyle? And this is the million-dollar question. This is what people come in and visit with us about every single day. And so we have to start to talk about this ahead of time, not in 2026 when it's too late. We got to start planning today.
Absolutely. And Ozzie, are you having a lot of clients come in right now that are talking to you about planning properly for taxes, if you will?
Yes, most of the clients are looking for what the tax is going to be in the future and what's the taxes right now. And sometimes the people think that when they retire, their tax bracket is going to go down. But that's not always the case, because what happens is you start taking, you know, required minimum distributions, or you're taking money out from your IRAs or any other retirement accounts you haven't paid the taxes on. Then you're getting your Social Security. Not going into too much of the details, but most of it is going to be also taxed. And how is that going to affect you down the road? Is it going to be higher or lower? We do think that it's going to be higher taxes, because somebody needs to pay all these, you know, bills passed by the Congress. It's a good thing, but some of us is going to pay, either me or Prashant or our kids is going to pay that taxes back.
Sure, that makes sense. Ozzie, that kind of ties into our next question, if you will. We have a question from a viewer. It says, I'm familiar with market risk. I think we all are. How much risk there is being invested in the markets? They can go up, they can go down like a roller coaster. What exactly is legislative risk, and is this the same as tax risk? Ozzie, your thoughts?
Well, what I do believe is, especially when you invest in the market, you know, my experience is you shouldn't be investing all your money in the market, because why you want to take a risk with most of your money being in the market, which we're seeing steep declines this year, 20, 25, 30%. The most important thing is, for me, is the income. We want to make sure that our clients get all the income they need, so they shouldn't be worried about the legislative risk, the taxes going up or market goes down. If you have all the income you need at your retirement, do you care what happens to the market?
That's true.
I don't.
That's true. Because we've talked about this in the past. That's obviously the number one fear that people have entering retirement is running out of money during those years. So excellent response. Prashant, I want to guide this next question actually to you. It says, what is the difference between tax planning and tax preparation? I'm confused by these two options. Can you help me understand?
So I love this question. I'm going to kind of answer this with a question, right? If I was to ask you, when you drive your car, do you only look through the rear view mirror or do you look through the front windshield, right? This is the difference between tax preparation and tax planning, right? When you go and visit with a tax preparer, what they're doing is they're comparing last year's taxes to this year's taxes just to see what kind of difference we have to plan for in terms of, should I adjust my withholdings or those types of things. It's minor details when it comes to tax preparation. The difference is with tax planning, we're not so much just looking through the rear view mirror, but we're trying to look into the future here. So a great example of this, we had a client, she had about $1 million in her 401k account. Okay, she's about 65 years old, and we were talking to her about this tax domino or tax avalanche that we talk about. And she said, what is this tax avalanche? Well, we said, look, in 7 years, that $1 million that you have in your 401k account is like a ticking time bomb, right? Whether you need that money or not, Uncle Sam's going to come knocking on your door and they're going to force you to take out a required minimum distribution. Sure. And they don't care whether you need the income. And they want you to take that out because they want to collect their taxes. Yeah. Well, why is this an issue? An RMD, a required minimum distribution, increases your income, which could increase your tax bracket. Believe it or not, if you have more income, it could impact how much you pay for your Medicare premium. So maybe your Medicare premium just got higher. And believe it or not, your Social Security benefits are taxed based on your income. So as you can see, there's an avalanche effect that's happening here. Well, what we were able to do is say, why don't we take some of that $1 million and convert it into a tax-free status? And we're not going to wait till you're 72. We're going to start that process today. And so by doing some real planning, we were able to forecast into the future and say, we think that we're going to make your tax situation look a lot better 6 or 7 or 8 years from now. And that's a tremendously beneficial thing. And I'll tell you what, if our clients are asking us about this stuff, I know the viewing audience is asking us, is thinking about this stuff, right? So the easiest way to deal with this is it starts with having a conversation, right? So everyone should pick up the phone. Our phone number today is 833-308-5200. And when you call in, we're going to put you on track with what we call a Retire Smart roadmap. That roadmap is going to dive into these ideas of should you be taking money and converting it into a tax-free status. It's a great idea, but it's not the right idea for every single person. This is why you want to meet with a professional. So it's totally complimentary when you come in to visit with us. You meet with Ozzie, myself, our team of advisors, and we're going to take you through this roadmap, which will encompass your income, your Social Security, and most importantly, your taxes in the future. We also have set up a QR code, so if you want to pull out your cell phone, take a picture of that QR code, it'll go directly to our calendar. But we have a limited number of spots this week, so pick up the phone, call now.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzie, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. We know you have a lot of questions for Prashant and Ozzie about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Ozzie and Prashant about a Roth conversion. Could it be right for you? Stay tuned.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, talking about, of course, the tax avalanche, if you will. And before we went to the commercial break, I talked a little bit about coming back and talking to you both about a Roth conversion. Now, specifically, Ozzie, here was the question. It says, can you help me understand what is the difference between a Roth contribution and a Roth conversion? How do I know what works for me?
Sure. So the Roth contribution is if you are working and making a certain amount of money, you can put money into a retirement account is after tax. What that means is when that money grows in certain years, you can take distributions tax-free.
Okay.
It might be good for some people, it might not good for, some other people. The Roth conversion is you put money before taxes like 401k, TSB, 403b, or IRAs, and that money grows. But sometimes we need to take some advantages called the Roth conversion. We can convert some of that money and pay the taxes in today's tax rate, so we don't have to worry about the tax rate is going high because we convert the account and now it's tax-free.
Wow, okay.
So taxes, if you think about it, taxes are kind of on sale right now, right?
Yes.
If we all agree that we think taxes are going up in the future,
absolutely,
doesn't it make sense to pay taxes today at a lower rate?
Of course.
Than pay them at a much higher rate that we don't even know what it is in the future?
Exactly.
Right? So I love this idea of potentially taking money that's going to be taxed anyway, okay? It's going to be taxed. We know that for fact. Why not take advantage of it, of lower tax rates today and make that conversion,
sure,
right? Now, you have to meet with a professional. There's a lot of moving parts to this thing. Like he said, it's not right for everybody, okay?
Sure.
You don't want to do it if it's potentially going to put you into a much, much higher tax bracket. But if you can make the numbers work, then it's a great tool to reduce your future tax liability. And the other thing is, can you talk a little bit about, we talked about required minimum, right? So I think one of the coolest parts about the Roth IRA is that it's actually not subject to the required minimum, right?
Wow,
and
okay.
then what happens to the Roth IRA when you pass away? This is another important part of it.
So like in the regular IRAs, like when we pass, if I had $1 million IRA and I passed that IRA to my kids, they're going to have to pay the taxes on that, and they're going to have to take it out in the certain years,
okay,
which that might increase their tax bracket.
Sure.
But if you have the Roth IRA, like Prashant says, you don't need to take required minimum distribution, which is the RMD, at the age of 72. You never need to take the money out. And when you die, the whole money goes to your heirs, tax-free.
Tax-free? Someone say tax-free?
It's tax-free.
That's pretty cool.
Tax-free.
That's incredible.
Why are people not talking about this more?
Yes.
And this is a question I get all the time. We have viewers come into the office and they say, my advisors never talked to me about a Roth conversion, right? I said, why do you think that is? I said, well, are you working with a specialist, right? And this is really important, especially for me coming from a family of doctors.
Yeah.
I'm all about seeing the specialist, right? If I have a
Right.
problem, I want to go see the specialist. When you're thinking about your financial health, why is it any different? Shouldn't you be
true.
dealing with the person that is highly specialized in dealing with the distribution phase of your lifetime?
Sure.
Right? And this is why I think a lot of advisors today who are focused on the accumulation side of the business, which, by the way, it's an important role that advisors play. Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's a good thing if you're working with an advisor. But are they an accumulation advisor or a distribution advisor that's focused on the retirement phase of your lifetime, creating income and minimizing taxes? We have to ask these questions. Our viewers need to be asking these questions.
Sure, absolutely. And Prashant, that leads us to the next question. We had a caller that actually wants to know, are you CPAs? How does this work with your firm?
Look, I think what we do is a full-time job. We want to put a real CPA in place to do the full-time job of tax planning. But what we're really good at is setting folks up with a concrete plan that they can take to their CPA, and we can work with that CPA in coordination so that we're all on the same page. Look, I'm a big believer that your financial plan, your tax plan, and your estate plan all need to work together.
Sure.
It's silly to have a financial advisor that's doing one thing, an estate planner doing another thing, and a tax planner doing another thing. If we're not all on the same page.
They don't know each other, they don't talk to each other, so no one knows what's going to happen when we die.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be very confusing.
Right.
You're right.
Right. So it's like, again, going back to the medical example, it's like going to see a specialist but not sharing your medical records, right? Like, of course, you want all these professionals working together. So even though we're not CPAs by trade, we do work with a lot of our client CPAs. We even have on-staff CPAs that if you've never met with a CPA before, we'll give you access to one at a very low, or in a lot of cases, no cost. And that is a fantastic thing to go through just to see where you stand.
Sure, sure. That makes perfect sense. Ozzie, this next question I'm going to guide to you. It says, in your experience, will my tax bracket go down in retirement if I'm not earning a large income right now?
Again, we just talked this earlier. Most of the people thinks that their income is going to go low. But the one thing that they don't think about it, okay, you have a pension income, you have a social security income, it's great. Maybe you don't need other income sources, but how about all these years you work and you accumulated these big IRAs and any other retirement accounts you haven't paid the taxes on? Now you need to take money out when you turn 72. Used to be 70 and a half, it's been changed, now it's 72, it's better, it's, you know, a couple years after. But again, we don't know what your tax bracket is gonna be in 3, 5, 7 years. Like Prashant says, and I said, we think it's gonna go higher. If you think that it's gonna go lower, then you don't need to call us, you know, because there's no problem. That if the taxes are gonna go lower, everybody's gonna be happy. But I think we are at the lowest tax bracket of our time. And when you go into the 70s, you need to take your required minimum distributions, you're gonna have to pay more taxes. So why don't you plan today?
And thank goodness it's 72 versus 70 and a half, because who can remember when they turned 70 and a half?
Yes,
and it's going to be so confusing. It's like, oh, happy birthday to me, I'm 70 and a half. You know?
Now we have a round number at least that we're working with. But look, you're probably watching the show and thinking, okay, I have RMDs to deal with. I have rising taxes to deal with. We haven't even talked about inflation or how crazy of a year it's been in the market. We'll have to do another show on that sometime.
Sure.
But look, it's overwhelming to a lot of people. I mean, this is the one thing I hear the most. They come in, they say, look, you talk about 4 or 5 different things, and it's overwhelming to try to coordinate this all into one plan. Like 15, 20 years ago, all you had to do was focus on your taxes or focus on your investments, focus on your income. Now everything is so intertwined, and this is why we have that Retire Smart roadmap in place. So pick up the phone, give us a call. It's 833-308-5200, or you can take a picture of the QR code. It goes straight to our calendar. You come in and visit with us in Ellicott City, and it really starts with having a constructive conversation of what keeps you up, right? If you're concerned about rising taxes, if you're concerned about inflation, you have to pick up the phone and you have to call right now. And I know our viewers are concerned about it because we get 10, 15, 20 calls every single week about this. It's totally complimentary. You leave your checkbook at home, no obligation when you come in to visit with us. So you have nothing to lose. Pick up the phone, give us a call, and give us a call right now.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzie, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. Again, we know you have a lot of questions for Ozzie and Prashant about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call in today. Once again, it's 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. I have so much more about the tax avalanche when we return.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Ozzie Culhagil and Prashant Sabapathi of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, obviously focusing on taxes, which is so very important. Prashant, I want to guide this next question to you. This is a fantastic question. It says, I've heard of the perfect storm of taxes. Delay Social Security until 70, RMD start at 72. Do you think that you've waited as long as you can, but is it a good strategy tax-wise down the road for me?
Everyone's situation is so unique, okay? I think the mistake that people make today is they get what I call armchair advice. They get advice from people that don't have to live with the consequences of the decisions, right? And so when you go talk to your coworkers at work, or you talk to your brother-in-law or your golf buddy, they want to give you advice that they think is best for them, but it's not necessarily the best for you. So should you delay your Social Security? You know, can you deal with your required minimum distributions ahead of time? Maybe you can, but it needs to be custom tailored for you. It's got to be your plan, because I'll tell you, in all the years that we've been doing this, no two plans are the same. They're just not. A lot of the concepts are very similar, but the numbers are different. People's feelings are different. People's objectives and dreams really are different, and so your plan needs to work for you. Is it a good idea? I don't know. It's hard to answer that in a setting like this. It's got to be the right thing for you.
Sure, sure. Excellent response. Thank you, Prashant. Ozzie, this next question is for you. So I want to ask you a question. Are there legitimate ways to tax shelter for myself and for legacy planning? Things that you can talk about on air, please.
The short answer is yes. There is a lot of different ways that you can shelter some of your money for the future, taking out as an income tax-free, and you can do some legacy planning. But we have limited time in TV to go through the details, but you can do some other stuff to save money today, pay less taxes tomorrow.
There was an example we recently had. Ozzie and I worked on this together. We had a client been with us, probably, I don't know, really long time. Her husband passed away recently. And so he actually had a life insurance policy that paid out. And so she had this lump sum of money. She didn't know what to do with it. What we were able to do for her is actually take part of those proceeds and structure it in a couple different buckets. And one of those buckets was specifically designed to give her tax-free income in the future. And when she passes away, it actually created another bucket of tax-free money that's going to go to her kids and grandkids to fund the grandkids' education. I mean, how cool is that?
That's fantastic.
There's so many strategies out there where you can do these types of things, but my fear is that advisors are just not talking about it, and folks are just not educated on it, and it's through no fault of their own. I think it's because we live in this society today where we're sold this kind of Wall Street bag of goods, and all the strategies that the elites on Wall Street are using are not made available to the public.
Yeah.
And so this is why we do our show every single week, is we want to bring some of those strategies to the folks that come in and visit with us, because people just don't know about them.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Prashant, I think we have time for one more question.
Yeah.
We have a couple minutes left. This is a consumer question, actually. Is the income I receive from my annuity tax-free? I remember something about that when sitting in the office of that guy who sold it to me years ago.
Oh.
I don't remember exactly what they said. Do I just call the company who provided me with the annuity?
I think what you should do is probably give us a call first. You call us, we'll be able to evaluate your entire situation. But with that being said, when it comes to annuities, it depends what type of annuity you purchased. Did you get it in a retirement account, like an IRA, or did you get it in an after-tax account? Right? And that's a huge difference there.
Okay.
If you bought the annuity in something like a Roth IRA, it very well could be tax-free income for life. If you bought it in an IRA, every single penny of distribution that you take out is now going to be taxable. Right? If you got it in an after-tax account, only the gains are taxable. Right? So there's so many different moving parts to this thing. It's hard to say today if the income that you're receiving is taxable or not. But I think the bigger question here is, how does that annuity fit into the rest of your plan?
Yeah.
Right? So is that annuity supplementing your Social Security? Do you have a pension that has a survivor benefit? Right? What happens to that pension if you pass away? Maybe that annuity can make up some of that differential of income that you'd experience. So I think, look, I kind of equate this to driving around in a car and you get lost. And when you get lost, it's too late to hope that you have a map sitting in the glove compartment.
That's
It just
true.
is, right? Like, wouldn't you rather go out on the road knowing that if something happened and your cell phone was out of service, you had that road map sitting in your glove compartment?
100%.
Right? When you're lost, it's too late to get started. So don't delay on this, okay? Because I know folks are concerned about this. This is why you have to pick up the phone. You got to give us a call. It's complimentary, folks. It's 833-308-5200. We have a limited amount of spots every week. We're going to limit it to only 10 spots this week, and that's because you guys have been keeping us so very busy at the office, which I love. So pull out your phone, scan the QR code, get on our calendar. Totally complimentary, no obligation visit, and we'll dive deeper into your concerns. And I know that they're out there, so come on in and let's get that Retire Smart roadmap in place and get you on track to a secure retirement.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzie, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today. That number is 833-308-5200. Be safe, be happy, be blessed.